is a little bit, I got the definition from, that's a dictionary definition, and this one is, an academic dictionary, someone said, and quoted it. So whenever I quote from the Wikipedia and then try to see the what is a quotation, who said it, who did it, where is which book, where is it to get the information. So I want to make sure and then it's clear. I kind of cite it like this. Other than that, I don't cite. If there is no any quotation and references mark, and I cannot use it. Maybe the writer's opinion, but I don't know who is the writer, right? And that's why I'm okay with citing the Wikipedia like that, and then so try to see the what's the origin of the source, right? So Wikipedia, so I got that one, and the narrative account was a narrative's historical meaning, experience, or knowledge which offers society legitimation through the anticipated completion of a master idea. Right? Narrative about narratives of historical meaning and experience and knowledge. Just think about the history of Israel and Old Testament. And it is connected, it is connected to New Testament. That's why if you don't, you think there is no connection in that Judaism. But if you think that there is a connection and we put together that's a Christianity. Right? So there's a master plan in the whole stories. There's a meta narrative. And God created the world, and human being fall, fell, kind of break the covenant with God, and then relationships broken, and God planned to save the restore the relationship again, and then He planned from Abraham and through the Israel history, and He running down the stories and plan, and then when Jesus Christ sent to the world to accomplish His plan, and then Jesus Christ accomplished, and that's why we believe that Jesus Christ made bridge between God and human being, and so He reconciled our relationship with God. And then what's the climax? The whole narrative climax is Jesus Christ coming back, and there is no more evil. Evil is punished forever, and then there was a perfect the kingdom of God and start. That is Wikipedia definition, and then what is the frame said? It sees the universe as ongoing stories. Ongoing stories. Still, we believe the ongoing stories. And worldview, how understand the world, right? Christian worldview is different from non-Christian worldview, and it's a collection of things, fact and process. Still, universe is going on. He's a Christian, and then he reflect his idea. But some denied this kind of worldview. No, and there is no worldview, and there is no meta narrative like Jean, Francois's Lyotard, and then he said that postmodern thought has an incredulity toward meta narratives, so he cannot believe it. It's hard to believe. But others think the worldview is indispensable, at least as a working assumption. Even though if you deny that one, we don't understand the world, and then we cannot explain all phenomena, whether it's philosophically and scientifically. Just think about philosophy and science based on our reasoning and observation, right? Observation is not enough because we cannot explain everything. Still, what is there? Our reasoning is there, logical reasoning is there. Yeah, that's one of our popular terms that I try to introduce in what's meta narrative, and then how the people understand, right? But some people say, oh, that's illusion, and we cannot give any credit. But some people say, oh, without that one, we cannot understand anything. Not anything. We cannot understand the world, universe. Just think about, they said, understanding of the worldview. If you are a rationalist, and then what? They understand the world by what? Appealing to reason. I don't know how you guys understand the world. If you are the idealist, and they understand the world by constructing argument informed by idealism. It's not just ideal, but still constructing argument. It's a kind of a plausible, right? By their idealism. What about if you are an empiricist, like a scientist, and they set up the experiment and try to get the outcome and try to prove, and then experiment and over and over and over, and that's the same result, and then we have a theories here, like this. It's a theory, right, with the probabilities. Yeah, the empirists understand the world by appealing to sense experience. What about you guys? How do you understand the world? Maybe just think about nowadays Gen Z, maybe if you are Gen Z, and then they are really influenced by the postmodernism, and then think about, and just whatever you like, whatever feels good, just do it. So if you are old and maybe traditional and modern, pre-modern thought, and really conservative, and God controls everything, and He is still running the all histories, and then a little bit different perspective. And if you are not Christian, and then Christians always look at the Bible, but if you are not a Christian, so you maybe use any ideology that you have, maybe, and capitalism or communism, or and any other ideology that you have. So yeah, everybody has a different world view to understand the world, right? And what about the Christians? How they understand the world? The biblical worldview is the Bible, right? In the Bible, God is the creator. God is creator. We believe that. And the world as the creation. God is creator who created the world, everything in it. Man made in His image. we created by God in God's image. There's a lot of different meaning in image. But human being sinned, and after they sinner, and it took the consequence of the sins. And there was a predicament. Pain came. You got to work. And from that time, basic ethics have collapsed. But just think about, and the world is so chaotic. But because of they abandoned God and they turned away from God. It seems like a good, but no. There isn't any ideology cannot make this world perfect. And Christ, no, God really wants to, I already told you, there's a Christ atonement. He became a sacrifice to make a reconciliation between God and us. And he's going to return as a consummation of all things. That's a Christian worldview. Based on that, we understand the histories and we understand all things. Little bit different. Just think about if you are the rationalist, and sometimes it's hard to explain everything by your logical reasoning. If you are the idealist, maybe get some big idea, but it's hard to constructing all argument by your ideals. What are the empiricals? Can you explain the miracles and wonders and signs? No. That's why liberal theology, influenced by the Enlightenment, and they denied all signs and wonder. They treat them like a mythology, right? Here is basic. I like the book, the Cyrus book, in the kind of summarize and how people see the world. And there is a Christian this, and then there is a non-Christian humanism, and there is a pantheism, right? They believe God, but there's a lot of gods. And they compare the three things. Okay, let me give you brief worldview how they understand the world, right? How they understand the world, and then because the reason that I give you, and then what's the philosophy is kind of articulating or depending on worldview. So not just the love of wisdom. That's why we gotta know how where we are, how we are different, right? Here is, and then the world is the Christians and God. They believe God is really creator. He's different from man, right? He's holy, and but humanism is God is man. Man is his own God. His own God. So it's God is one creature. I can be a God. And pantheism is what? Creation is all is God. All is God. So creation is only one God. The humanism is creatures. God is creatures. Human made it. And human can be a God. But pantheism is different. What about the world? Christians believe the world is created by God and controlled by God. Sometimes we don't understand all happenings, right? What about the humanism, the result of evolution? It's from little simple cell and develop, and then like a complicated human being came out. Like, right? Random chance and merits all there is. And then what about the pantheism, result of spiritual evolutions? Universe has always been and will be. Going, no end. What about the truth? We believe absolute truth. That's why there is no way to be saved except Jesus Christ, right? And absolute God has spoken, but humanism is really relative. No, that is depends on. That's relativism. Depends on your values. That's your truth. It's all relatives. What about the pantheism? Personal. Depends on you. What about the human nature? Like God is creating God's image. But after the fall, after the relationship is broken, between God and human being, and what? We don't believe that human beings are good. And humanism is like animals. Rat is a pig, rat is a pig, and dog is a baby. Like that is like one of the animal. They categorize, but he's a higher or low. What about the creations are part of God? I am God, part of God. So believe the body and soul is one, and they don't believe the soul, only believe the body, and what? They believe only soul. They don't believe the body, right? One with the earth, but Christianity believes community. It's a little bit different. And there is a reality of death and resurrection. There is, after that we're going to live again. That is a basic idea. And what about humanism? Is any helialism, any heliation, and then go back to earth? That's all, right? And what about the reincarnation? Like Hinduism, right? Maybe reverse to human being or other animals, and we don't know, other creatures. What about the ultimate destiny? We're gonna be like we're gonna live at God's kingdom. So glorification, we all bodies turn and different. Totally different, but we're gonna live forever and ever. But the humanism is no more. That's it. If you die, that's it. This is extinction. What about absorption and return to Mother Earth, and then what? If you die, return to Mother Earth to ready for the next birth. What about source of authority? Authority, so what? God revealed Himself, by His word. That the revelation is and we can see the general revelation like our consciousness, but there is a through the see the natures and the general revelation. But we can see special revelations like the Word of God, Bible. That's authority. But humanism is a region and experience. I know. By what? And what about same and region and experience, but I feel. This is different. I feel. I know. What about the evil? Satan. Rebellion. So issue of human beings' heart. Always. Spiritual, right? But ignorance, issue of man's mind, no. We have issue of heart, but the issue of man's mind. And that's it's a lot of human after enlightenment, and then people really rely on the reasoning and imperialism, and then they ignore the spiritual world. So when the Western societies got influenced by the enlightenment, and then about 200, and then influence on the society, and then later on when they the missionaries going to other world, and then they are totally different though. They cannot understand their worldview, and they have different things. Nowadays, and then they even though the Western Christians, and then really, not just by head knowledge, and really they acknowledge the spiritual world. But if you are maybe atheist, but maybe you don't acknowledge the spiritual world. What about the pantheism? That illusion. The issue of human's perception. There is no evil. It depends on how you feel. What about salvation? Through Jesus Christ, your soul will be free from the sins, for your sins forgiven, right? But what about humanism education? Okay, there is no any spiritual world. Our body is a chemical reaction. So if you die, that's all. You can be free from the education. You don't have to worry about. But still, look at the people's life. So now you have tons of things that we cannot explain with our mind, right? Education cannot solve. What about the whole disasters and evil behaviors? Even though people have a higher education, they are really evil in the society. How can you explain that one? Meditation, free from the really psych. Just think about this one is really humans, feeling, right? Feeling. This one is really emphasize human's mind. This word is really emphasize heart. It's a little bit different. But Christian world, we don't ignore the mind and feeling. We still have it. What about history? It's a line because linear. So start and end is a straight line, right? But humanism it's hard to explain. Random chance and molecules and chaotic. It's hard to explain the world, the history. We don't know. And by this theory, we don't know which one is coming here and there, what happened. If you explain, if you understand the world with this word here. What about the cyclical and just going and come back and going and come back, but it's a different. Especially this one is humanism is another Hinduism. What about how they acknowledge Jesus Christ? They acknowledge God incarnated, Jesus Christ God. He was with God and He is God. He is created the world from the beginning. But He is God incarnated. He came to the world, right? That's the incarnation we said, dwelling in human bodies, human being, becoming a human being. Jesus Christ, moralist, He really takes care of marginalized people, and He really did a good job, and He protests against the group have power over the society. That one is enlightened being, and then just think about you try to get out of it, and you being a little bit different, right? And maybe your behavior, and then sometimes you need to do something like realize. That's a worldview, though. And that's a brief understanding of how Christian worldview is different from the non-Christians, and then like humanism, who don't believe God, and then what's the other? Pantheism is like Hindus. Muslim is like a little bit similar to Christianity, but they have their own, right? And among the humanism and the non-Christian non-believers, and they have their own things, a lot of different, but that's a general understanding. This one is a little bit different understanding of philosophy, and then maybe we can come back later if we have, that one is we need to understand the basic term of theology and metaphysics and epistemology and ethics and anthropology. So we gotta go over, and then maybe we can come back. So why are you studying philosophy? Why? And was a philosopher, and Aristotle, he said in his metaphysics, and then all men by nature desire to know. Really? Nowadays, I don't know. He said it. All men desire to know. That's why. And try to understand the world, and that's why I study philosophy. What about Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, who climbed the Everest? They asked, why you guys are doing that? They said, because it is there. It is there. They are pursuing something, right? Pursuing something, and when they get there, they can see, even though it's beyond the description. What about Socrates? Socrates said, unexamined life is not worth living. What? The philosophy helps you examine your life. I don't know whether you agree or not, but still, these values are a little bit different from nowadays values, your values. Right? It's a long time ago. And this one is Edmund Hillary, and then maybe Tenzing Norgay is a little bit, they are different, but And I got the three things from the book, John Frames and our textbook. And philosophy, how philosophers in the business of thinking clearly, causally, and profoundly. So to understand and evaluate the work is excellent mental exercise. So eventually it's really helpful to understand and train your thinking and logic, right? And he said that Christian theology preachers and teachers generally need to improve their quality of thinking, particularly their argument. Yeah, it's really helpful to how to think, how to make argument, talk with others is about specific things, and then it really help because the philosophy can train your thinking. And second reason, he said the philosophy over the centuries has had a major influence on Christian theology. I already told you, right? And from the Greco-Roman period and Middle Ages and modern ages and nowadays, theology is not fixed. Depends on what kind of a worldview you have, and then theology going to be different. There is a conservative theology, and maybe there is a liberal theology. It's a different. So he said, remember that the work of a philosopher is to formulate and examine the worldview, right? He said that philosophy is what? Try to articulate and defend the worldview. That's a philosophy. That's why he said it. Philosophy is to formulate and examine the worldviews. Insofar as Christian theology is also the articulation of the worldview. In its interaction with philosophy is especially really important. Right? Especially if theologian try to not all the time kind of defend their faith, but try to show God in current context. That's why. So a lot of doctrines and formed by around the there is different philosophical and thinking trend, and then they kind of use a different approach to understand the Bible and Jesus Christ and then what. And there's kind of argument is there, and then they developed their own theology based on the Bible, and then they made doctrines. Yeah, that's why it's really, really important. What about last one though? Through the most of the history of Western civilizations, philosophy has been governed by non-Christian assumptions. What do you think? Yeah, I read an article about he's an English professor, something like that, and then just think about humanity department in the college, university. How many professors how many percent of professors are Christians? Less than 10%. That's why. Yeah. So, like Hegelism and Marxism, and it's a lot of there is a lot of philosophical trend, and some of them they try to against what is a traditional what's a philosophy like theology and Christianity, and then they developed their own things and try to have their own things develop, and historically not popping out, new things come out. No, always formed into the stream of the society. Yeah, there is a kind of, I really agree with the reason that why we had to study, and then that's why I went to the I study philosophy at colleges. Before I went to seminary school. This is the second is my one of the reason. But first one I didn't know, but 4 years kind of learning this philosophy, even though whether I'm not that good, but still, it's a really influence on my thinking system. And before we go to study, we gotta understand basic terms like what is we talk about the philosophy and what about theology, what is religion, what is theology? Theology is about study about religious faith, like Bible. You can understand the Bible with a different perspective, and then you can make your own theory. That's philosophy, theology. Yeah, religious faith and practice and experience, right? Especially study of God and of God's relation to the world. That's a theology, right? Study about God. What about theology is the application of the word of God by person or to every aspect of human life. You study about God, and then they apply these principles in our life. That's the Christian life. That's why it's affecting every aspect of our life. If you are Christians, if you are not a Christian, it doesn't matter whether you study theology, and it doesn't matter. This is a Christian theology with a Christian worldview. You acknowledge God as creator, and there is a revelation is a kind of authority, general revelation and special revelations. It's really study on the special revelation and try to understand the God, and then bring the principle and apply them to our life. That's why the applications. What about the religion? Just a general term. General term of the religion is about. There is a lot of different religion, right? And I remember when I studied in when I was in high school in Korea, I think the basic for element to be a religion is like there is absolute being, and there is some holy text, right? Absolute being is there, holy text is there, and there is explanation of afterlife, and there is kind of a ritual, how they practice. And that's why I remember that Confucianism is not a religion, right? That's what I remember. But I tried to look at what is the basic element of a religion. So some people 4, some people 5 and 7 and 8, and it depends on. You can do that. You can see that one. But let me see. Dictionary definition is a personal set of institutionalized system of religious attitude, belief, and practice. Can you do attitude? And how you should live, right? As a Christian, as a Muslim, as a Hindu, so like this. And believe, you believe Allah is only God, and we believe God the Father is only God who sent Jesus Christ to deliver, redeem the world, right? This is a kind of belief. Practice. How do you practice? Christians practice every Sunday, get together and worshiping God, and they do study the Bibles, and remember they have a special and ritual like baptism and communion, and they practice. Remember. And another is a cause, principle, system of belief held with order or faith. That's dictionary definitions. And then how do you define the reason? And Frame said that religion is a practice of faith, and here is James 1:26-27. And he said, practice of faith, that's the religion, right? If you have a Christian faith and the practice, and then you are Christian, right? Like this. If anything, so he is religious and does not read his tongue, but deceive his heart. This person's religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God. The Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and keep oneself unstained from the world. That is explained about the reason, right? Can you see? You gotta know what is the background of James. Why he said religious, and how is not related to the buried tongues, right? But based on this, on James, and then that's why practice of faith. Especially James said, what is practice? And to reach the orphans and widows, they are marginalized in the society, right? And keep oneself from unstained from the world. Don't conform to the world, and set aside from the world, and then live a life in God's word. There's a Christian base. Maybe if you are Muslim, if you are atheist, there is no, but if you have a different religion, and then you could explain what is a religion based on your belief. So, Christian philosophy is a part of Christian religion, right? Because we try to explain, sometimes we try to talk about to use a philosophy. So he said the Christian philosophy is part of a Christian religion, and our working with Christian faith, our working, and you gotta, and maybe not just faith, and try to explain it by your reasons. Logical reasons, right? So whenever Christians engage in study of philosophy, anything else, he must question who is it, how is it this related to Jesus Christ? Because without Jesus Christ, we cannot call it Christianity, right? That's why Jewish don't acknowledge that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. But Christianity, Christians believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. Yeah. Just think about, but it's really hard to distinguish philosophy and religion, but still really intertwined it, and then kind of sometimes it's and intertwined, and then it's better explain and understand, right? Kind of expression, better expression of what they believe. And then just think about the philosophies and acknowledging something that is divine, the sense of not depending on anything else. Like this. And then that's why when you try to explain the absolute being, that's why our religion is about connected to philosophy. That's one of the philosophers trying to figure it out, pursuing. No. From the early in the morning, early of the time. Just the analysis of what is the absolute being not depends on other thing else. He said, water. I don't know why. Maybe we can figure it out. And Plato's form of the good, form of good. It's not an absolute being, but Aristotle is a prime mover. So there is something to kind of start to move and then kind of originate. That is his prime mover. Spinoza is a God or nature. And what about the Kant, the pneumonia. So what about Hegel? Hegel is absolute. The mystical of the mystic, kind of a language philosopher, and there's a Tractatus, little bit technical terms, but they explain their own way with through their reasoning, right? Such philosophers. That's why when you try to explain God and the philosophy is, we cannot, without philosophy, we cannot sometimes just believe, and that's all. But people cannot just believe, and they don't understand sometimes, right? That's why it just shows the kind of connections and influence. What about when you say about philosophy? It's like there is three subdivisions, and what is metaphysics and epistemology, and axiology, and values. What's metaphysics? Metaphysics is the study of most general figures of the universe. It's very broad. It's not a specific thing, right? General form, most general figures of the universe. Like, question is like this, it's more easier. And who is the universe? One or many. Maybe you could think, so why is so important though? It doesn't matter. Maybe you think that like that. They think that the universe is one or more. What is the basic composition of the universe? Have you thought about it? And what about, are universe real or only particulars? Particle? Real or just particulars? What about, do things in the universe change or are they static? What about the event of nature and history work together, work toward the good, or do they simply occur without any rationale or direction? Just think about tsunamis and natural disasters. What about war? And what was the connection between cause and effect? Do human beings have a soul? Christian believe and pantheists believe what? But not humanism. What about? And how does the human mind operate? How should it? Is there a God? What kind of question? It's a little bit, it's not tangible. That's why metaphysics. It's not tangible. But we are always thinking about like a meta-narrative and then the above, beyond the physical things, and then something's there, and then we are questioning about. That's a metaphysics. Got it? What about the epistemology? Yeah, epistemology. Epistemology is kind of a theory of a system of knowledge or theory of knowledge. How can you know and then kind of array whole procedure? And maybe ask again, what is knowledge? It's hard to explain, right? How is the knowledge possible? Knowledge of human being? Maybe knowledge of something? How is it possible? Yeah? How should we go about knowing? How do we distinguish truth from the false, falsity, reality from the appearance? How can we distinguish? It seems like it's really simple, but it's not really simple. It's not simple. Because we cannot prove like a mathematical method, and we cannot prove it like chemical labs, chemistry lab. So philosophical epistemology deals with the subject of knowledge. Person, subject of knowledge, person, and what? Object of knowledge, what he knows. Object and person, and some sort of rule that determines where the subject knows the object. Sort of rules. Right? It's a little bit, human being, how they process. I learned psychology, cognitive psychology is like similar to that one, but it's different. What about epistemologists have different over the question to how is that knowledge is possible and as the ground of knowledge, right? Maybe everybody has different opinions, right? There is rationalist and there is irrationalist, kind of skeptical. Okay, by our reason, we can explain it, that a rationalist, and like Plato, and what about the sophist? No, that we cannot explain. Skeptic, there is no kind of thing. What about the value theory, axiology? It's about ethics, how to behave as a aesthetics. Aesthetic is about beauty and other kind of values. They question about, they study about. That's axiology, the value theory. They ask like this, why should we value most high? How should we make value judgment? Are value objective or subjective? what things, events, and actions are good or bad? What's right and wrong? Right? And that is the basic, three philosophy, subdivision, and then here is another kind of relation to there's ontology, mean there's metaphysics being kind of reality, about question about reality, something, right? And then here is a kind of ontology, and there's metaphysics and epistemology and axiology, and show that we cannot separate each one of them among them, right? And then there's kind of close intertangled, and then that's why it's complicated. If you think about if you have a philosophical perspective on theology, God, religion, think about the ontology. It's about metaphysics, about God. Epistemology is how can we know? How can we know about God? What about axiology? What is the values? What is right? What is wrong? Right? Only just think about value is kind of epistemology is kind of connected through this one. Without that one, and you cannot do it. So even though we try to separate, but when we study about philosophy, it's all things coming together, basically, okay, interrelated, and that's why as a philosophy, as a theology is kind of influenced a lot by the philosophy, right? Even though they don't use the exact same word. That's why I didn't show the explain this one. A worldview. It's like it's the metaphysics, ontology. It's like theology and epistemology and ethical mean that there is axiology, and then anthropology, study about human being, and then they compare with how they understand the God, and deism is deism says they say God created everything and somehow he hands off. He doesn't care about the world. And what a polytheism, and just there are many gods, right? Pantheism is not Allah and whole is God, right? It's different. Poly is Allah, but pan is everything, yeah? I think so, yeah. And what pluralism, people are different perspective. And what about naturalism? As it is, and then how they see like a human reason, how they understand metaphysics, theology, and epistemology. There is a kind of comparison, and I tried to Google the worldview, but there was came out and pretty interesting. It's a good summary, but I didn't get like a source. Tried to get a source, but I didn't get the original source. So someone kind of summarized, but that's why there is a comparison is there. Maybe we can talk to last week. I'm gonna share one thing is that like what is the axiology, ethics, and theism includes Christian is about moral laws are based in God. in God. Muslims and yeah, but these moral laws are based in God too, right? God made everything. What about the polytheism? Morals are relative based upon your God. Many gods there, the whole God. There is no right wrong. Pantheism, everything is God. What about the pluralism? Pluralism is a different person. Moral are relative based on culture or the preference. There's a pluralism. What about the naturalism? There is no moral law since there is no moral lawgiver. That's why it's a totally different perspective, right? And just think about, even though they study about some world in philosophy, people's perspective is different because their worldview is different, right? Yeah, that's why maybe next time if we have time, maybe we can go back and see how it's different. But still, maybe you can see that one. Maybe I can give you my class note, and then I'm still working on it, and then yeah, it is inside my class note. And today, we talk about what is philosophy, and now it's how philosophy is different from traditional wisdom meant originally, and we talk about basic and talk about the meta narrative, and it's a really popular word nowadays. And then we talk about the worldview, right? Christian worldview and humanism worldview and pantheism worldview, like Hinduism, right? And we talk about basic branch of theology. We talk about theology, what is theology, religion, and kind of relation about philosophy. And then we talk about the three branches of subdivision of the philosophy: metaphysics, epistemology, and axiology, ethics. Yeah, from next week, and that's a basic understanding of philosophy. And when you study, and there's different approaches, and then I hope that helps you to understand the study, and when we study the philosophers, and then how they think, and then you can compare and see how they develop the idea, and then we can see how really influential on Christianity, right? Okay, so maybe, I have a lot of slides today, but I'm gonna stop here. And I think I gave you basic information about introduction of this class. And from next week, we studied about philosopher like Thales, and he saw the world is based on the water. He said it, and before Socrates, and then there is some philosophers there, and then we can study about next week, one by one, and then just a week, as I told you, and for around 6 weeks, and for 6 weeks, we can survey the Asian philosophers, and then we consider what the Christians thought, because previous is totally related to the Judaism. Maybe I don't know whether I can talk about the Judaism philosophies, but still, and Christianity is came out after Jesus Christ, right? Around so a little bit different. So, and already philosophies Greek, Rome's philosophy formed, and then Christians Christians came out, and then let's see how they developed their own concepts of the faith doctrines. Okay? Have a great week and take care of yourself very well. God bless you and see you next week.